This is One on One. I'm proud and pleased to be welcoming for the first time on One on One Kathy Walsh, President and Chief Executive Officer of the ARC of Bergen and Passaic counties. I want to thank our friends Mike and Elaine Adler from the Adler Aphasia Center for recommending you on the show. They said get her on because she has great energy, but more importantly, the ARC is doing great work. What is the ARC?
It's a great question because people ask that all the time, and unfortunately our name can sometimes be confused with other organizations. We are an organization for people with disabilities, primarily developmental disabilities, autism, cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, epilepsy, disabilities that occur before age 21 but are lifelong.
1947 you started.
We did. An incredibly brave group of parents started us in 1947.
On their own? Group of parents said, we need to do this?
They did. Actually, it was one parent, Laura Blossfeld, our founder, wrote a letter to the Bergen Record, didn't even sign it the first time because it was such a step to get public about having a child with a disability.
Did she have a child?
She did. She had a son. Wrote a letter, asked people to come to a meeting, had a meeting in Patterson, and from that point on, we started. And from that little parent group, which was in Patterson, it became a statewide movement and it became a national movement. It was ARC parents who have gotten almost every piece of legislation that affects people with disabilities passed on a national and state level over the years.
It's interesting. Names matter.
Yeah.
You used to have a different name.
We did. We did. We started off as the Parents Association for Retarded Children. We became the Association for Retarded Children. We became the Association for Retarded Citizens. And over time, that R word, which we call it now, became pejorative to people with disabilities. And we've changed our name. So we are just the ARC. We do not use the R word. It is actually a very painful word for people with disabilities because they hear it throughout their whole lives in a negative way. They go to school, they hear it on the bus, they hear it in the supermarket. People don't realize what they're doing when they're using that word.
How far do you think we've come with not just the R word in terms of using it in the vernacular, in our vernacular, but more importantly, our attitudes?
Oh, I think we've come very, very far, but we still have far to go. Our movement is a civil rights movement.
Is it a movement?
It really is. The ARC is a movement. We provide services, we provide programs, but we see ourselves as a movement.
A movement has to have a goal. What's the goal?
Our goal is full inclusion of people with disabilities in the life of the United States.
What's that look like?
It looks like people going to school with kids that don't have disabilities. It looks like people living in communities, not in institutions. It looks like people working in jobs, people getting paid, people going to the local bar and the local store and the local movie theater. It's inclusion.
Hosting TV shows?
I would love it. I have some people that could give you a run for your money.
It wouldn't take much. You think so?
I really do.
Do you really, in all seriousness?
I really do.
You say that there should be no barriers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With the right supports, people with disabilities can do amazing things.
Why don't we see it? I mean, I remember, what was the name of the show? And I know you know, because I know you know all the landmarks, milestones. What was the name of the show in the 1980s, guys?
With Corky?
Wow, you knew right away. How important was Corky? And what was the show? Let's give them credit.
Oh, gosh. No,
you got 50 guys in the
I can't remember the name of the show. See, I remember the most important part.
Life Goes On.
Life Goes on.
Thank you, John.
Corky was the most important part.
Corky was a terrific young man.
He was. He's still very active in the movement today. He has a band.
He does?
He does. He has a rock and roll band. And I just read, I'm not going to get this right because I just read it earlier this week. I think he's actually maybe doing a children's TV show now.
Wow.
I'll have to find that out for you. You might want to get him on.
So you really believe, the hell with the barriers.
Absolutely.
Let's find ways to help people with developmental disabilities work into every aspect of society and contribute in any way we can. I also, in reading some background on you, you believe that to not do that is to cheat the rest of us.
Absolutely. If you don't know somebody with a developmental disability, your life is not as rich as those of us who have been so blessed and so lucky to know folks with a developmental disability. And there are folks that need all kinds of supports, don't get me wrong. There are folks that we serve who use wheelchairs, who have to have tube feeding, who need all kinds of support. But every single person, whether they're verbal and could take over your role or whether they're not, they provide an incredibly valuable, they have personalities, they have valuable characters, and they bring something to your life when you know them. And I've been just very, very blessed.
People watching this show right now, we put up your website. You're a nonprofit.
We are private, not-for-profit.
People can volunteer.
People can absolutely
volunteer. People can give money.
Oh boy.
Which you never turn down.
Never turn down.
Where's that money go?
It goes to our programs and services.
Describe them.
We start with babies, early intervention, parenting.
What do you do for them?
Physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, support for the families.
What do families need?
Families need to get through learning about the diagnosis and finding out that they have a kid with a disability and begin to see what the opportunities are for them. They also need to be empowered to advocate because it's not a rosy picture. You have to fight to get things in the disability world.
You have to fight.
You have to fight.
What about if you say, hey, we are owed this as American citizens? We're not going to fight, you just help us.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it's all about money. Yeah, I hate to say that, but it's all about money. So to get the proper services, to get the proper supports, to get the proper education, parents from day one have to be good advocates.
Do you teach them how to do that?
We absolutely do. We start
early. Do you lobby
early.
Congress? Do you lobby the legislature, elected officials?
We're not allowed to lobby. We're not for profit. But
do you educate?
We educate. I testified in front of the Senate yesterday.
Yes.
or Tuesday, actually.
What was the message?
The message was, please maintain the services and supports for people with disabilities, and you must honor your covenant. So if you fund a group home for folks, you need to make sure that the funding keeps up with the cost of providing care. You can't just be funding us at levels that are from a decade ago and expect that we can provide the services people need.
Do you tell them the impact that funding cuts have on the lives of the people that they are sworn to protect?
Well, we do, but the way we really do it is people with disabilities who testified with me on Tuesday, and parents go out and talk. Because I'm just staff.
No,
my job is to facilitate people being able to speak for themselves.
30 years you've been doing this.
Yeah, I was so lucky.
This is no job for you.
No, it's really.
What is it?
Well, I mean, thank goodness my board pays me.
Yeah, I know, but what is it really?
Oh, it's really, it's a passion, it's a mission. It's, I am so blessed that I have to go to work every day doing something that I love. With people that I love.
Is your family?
Does my family?
Is this your family?
Is this my family?
The ARC.
We call the ARC a family, and we really are a family. We celebrate births, we celebrate deaths, we go through all the positive and negative things that life has to offer. We go through it together.
It's important that this series, the one-on-one, is dedicated to trying to make a difference together with our partners at the Adler Aphasia Center and the Russell Angelica Berry Foundation and others, Fedway, people who are supporting this series, because we get to meet people like you. But more importantly, it's intended to have people like you watching contribute and volunteer and make a difference. Kathy Walsh, President and Chief Executive Officer of the ARC of Bergen and Passaic counties. You honor us by being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay with us. One-on-one. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Adler Aphasia Center, empowering, enhancing, and enriching the lives of people with aphasia and their families. The Russell Berry Foundation, Fedway Associates, Inc., J.H. Cohn, Accountants and Consultants. We turn expertise into results. And by the Christian Plumeri Foundation. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and northjersey.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.